Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Rome Total War, which is of course part of the Total War Through the Ages series. First of all, I would like to apologize profoundly for the first episode. That was horrendous. It did not work at all. I hate it so much, and I hate myself for ever thinking that was going to be a good idea, having to sped up footage. It's a mess, and it was so bad I actually wanted to just take the video down and do a re-edit of it. Unfortunately, I lost the footage, and so I can't go back and edit it and fix it and put it as an actual, good episode, which hopefully the rest of them on out will be at least not that bad. So the main other thing I wanted to talk about is I'm going to also be editing these down. Now this first little section right here, I didn't edit down that much, partly so that I would have enough time to talk and get a few kind of introductory things like the apology and all that stuff out of the way. And also I wanted to, I wanted to just give myself plenty of time to talk, and I did kind of want to show all of you guys a little bit of what I'm doing. But like I said, I will be overall editing down a lot of this stuff a lot more. Now the main thing is I'm right here. I'm going through seeing all of that. I have the mission to blockade the port of Marseille. I'm checking the current standings in the Senate, as well as the diplomacy right here. We're currently at war with Carthage, the Gauls, the Greeks, and that is it. We're also allies, I believe it was Dacia. The Dacia, I think, is who we were allies with. We have 2 people currently appointed in as Senate officials. Here's a look at the family tree. Not a whole lot to look at, and we're getting ready to come up on the first edit, where I simply just edited the turnout, because sometimes those can take quite a while, and it's kind of not that much interesting stuff to see. Up next, I'm going to start assembling an army to go and take the city of Marseille, because last episode I failed horribly in doing that. Right now I'm going to be I'm reading through all of this, and I will, for the most part, I'll be editing this kind of stuff out, the management elements. And I also suspect that as the campaign goes on and I control more and more provinces, I will probably be editing out a lot more stuff, because late game you have so many provinces and there's so much city management that you have to do. That stuff's just boring to watch. It's not that interesting. I can sum it up in the in talking pretty easily. Here we have our army formed together. It's a full army, and overall it's pretty good. It's balanced pretty evenly between the town watch and Hastati, and then of course it has a few cavalry as well. I think it's 3. No, it only has 2 cavalry actually. Our faction leader died. That's not a big deal. Here I spent a little bit of time. I'm trying to find the faction leader, because I didn't remember where he was, and I was trying to find which one of my places doesn't have a guy anymore, because the faction leader's dead. And then we just edited, again, skipped through some of that stuff, and I won't be pointing out, as we go on, I won't be pointing out where I edit out all, because it's obvious, the transitions and stuff, so I'm not going to be bringing that up a bunch, but again, just kind of going through the turn, sending the fleet up to blockade the port, and then we're going to send the army over to actually take the city. Now, it's going to be a couple more turns before we're going to be able to do that, because we have to go there, we have to besiege it, and we have to construct the siege equipment in order to get through and stuff, but otherwise it's not that big of a deal. And again, we don't have a whole lot of other stuff going on, really. This is a lot of this is kind of the more boring stuff, which is why I edited out quite a bit of this stuff, and I later on in the video you'll see how I keep editing. I do more and more edits as the episode goes on, which I'm kind of getting a feel for how much of stuff to edit and what to leave in, what to edit out, because it is gonna take a little bit of time. Now what I did there is that's my new faction leader, who I moved over to that city because he has a really high management level. He's really good at managing the cities, so I put him over into I'm not sure how to say that name, but I put him over to that city that's kind of on the right of the screen right now because it was having really big issues with the happiness and stuff like that. So just sitting him over there fixed that because he's really good with management and stuff. Now here I encounter an enemy army that's fairly large. It's fairly sizable, and it's it's a big army. It's a big force. It's probably going to be pretty problematic. And I attack it, and not only do I attack it, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're going to fight this. Now, one of the other things, of course, I don't fight all of the battles. I will be auto-resolving a decent number of them, but this is one of the ones that I definitely felt like I needed to. Now, I actually got lucky here because it didn't... I actually got very lucky because the AI usually, when you are attacking them, they tend to play defensively. However, and I don't know why, I think it's maybe because the AI had the advantage or something, but they actually do end up attacking me, which I actually was somewhat concerned about having to do the bridge crossing, but of course, them attacking me actually ended up giving me a lot of... like I was saying, them attacking me actually ended up being a huge benefit, really, because they're forced to try and cross the bridge. And here we're going to be editing down my deployment, so I'm just kind of going through a little bit of my deployment, kind of the initial setup, and then we'll be moving on to the actual battle itself. So once I finish up the deployment, I move everyone forward to the bridge, and I set up in a sort of like a crescent formation. It's a lot blockier than that. It's essentially, as you can kind of see, the 2 units on the side, 1 unit facing forward, and then I have all my Hastati on fire at will, though I actually end up turning some of them off of fire at will because I didn't want all of them using up their ammunition just on this 1 unit that they send across the bridge here, which are these skirmishers. I'm not sure if these aren't the skirmishers, I don't think. But anyway, they charge these guys, they are the skirmishers, but yeah, they charge the guys across the bridge, a hail of fire from the Pelum, and they pretty much rout right away. And as you can see, that I have the back ranks of Hastati hold fire and not fire at will, and have them hold fire so that they can save their ammunition for when the main force comes across. And then the other 3 units that are kind of the front ones that will be doing the majority of the fighting end up doing it. And I sped up the footage. I actually was speeding up the game while I was playing. I had it sped up, and because they had reinforcements coming in from Marseille, or the city that I was actually planning to besiege, but I never got the chance to. And then once those reinforcements got here, because they were far behind the enemy, so it took them a long time, they actually charged across the bridge, which I was kind of surprised. That's kind of the one thing I was talking about that I was a little bit surprised about, because usually the AI is not as gung-ho to, fight when you are the one attacking. But anyway, they charge across the bridge, which I'm not going to complain about. It gives me a huge advantage here, and I pretty much just have 3 units fighting this entire battle, more or less. Towards the end, I do kind of have a few more units move in to kind of help. Like I moved these 2 units of Hastati up. I don't actually charge them in yet. I charge them in a little bit later, which you might not actually see because, again, I edited out a lot of the stuff in the battle because this battle took a long time. And in fact, came a point where I just sped up. I did it 3 times. I think it's 3 times speed or whatever. What is the maximum you can do in Rome? I actually ended up doing that because it was just a slugfest, as you can see, like right here. It's just back and forth. Like, they're not winning. My guys are holding fine. I every once in a while I'll use my general to rally, and it's very straightforward. But eventually some of their units start kind of to rout, and once the first few units start routing, pretty much all of the front ones start routing. And at this point, it's time to go. Everyone, let's go. Charge across the bridge. Not the general, though. Charge across the bridge with everybody. It's time to push the advantage and just weight of numbers with their own guys trying to get back across the bridge and all that stuff. And, their morale will drop overall because they have so many guys routing. And so we pretty much just charge across the bridge here and secure the victory. It's a pretty nice victory. And now the very important thing to keep in mind, that you always want to keep in mind, is that if possible, and this is I find this to be very important in, both Rome and also Medieval 2. I know I do it a lot in Medieval 2, is I usually continue the battles because I like being able to run down the enemies, and that's what I do. I use my infantry to kind of cut down quite a few of them as they're trying to get across the bridge, but the main thing is I'm able to use my cavalry. You can see the results of the battle there. And because they actually attacked with the army that was defending the city, and I beat them, and I think I completely wiped out the army because I continued the battle, and I was able to run down any of the guys who didn't actually get killed. I was able to ride them down with my cavalry and my general, who is cavalry, but I mean my cavalry units as well as my general. Basically anyone that's mounted and can catch infantry I used to run down, and I actually was able to catch all of them and wipe them out entirely so that there was no army there to defend, and then I just march up and walk straight into the city because again, the whole idea of having essentially like a militia force that's always in a city, that didn't actually start until Empire Total War. So in Rome Total War and Medieval 2, if you don't have at least one unit occupying a city or something, that city can just completely just roll over for the enemy. Like, the enemy doesn't even have to besiege it; they can just walk up to it and take it. Which is, it's interesting. You know, it's the pros and cons of both systems, which I'll probably get into more once we make it to the Empire portion of the Total War Through the Ages. But I get another mission from the Senate to blockade another port. It's the Greek port right there. That's what I was checking out. And very interestingly, I don't know why, but the Senate gives me so many missions to blockade ports, and I'm guessing it's because I'm the only one of the 3 Roman families that has a sizable navy. I think that's gotta be it, because I don't ever really see the Scipii or the Brutii having a very large navy or anything. So I'm pretty sure it's just me. I'm the only one with like I said, a sizable navy, and that's got to be what it is, because they send me mission after mission to blockade ports. Like, it's constantly blockade this port, blockade that port, and I just thought it was kind of funny. But so we're gonna go through several turns here relatively quickly. We get 2 guys appointed as Senate officials. I believe I already had 2 appointed, but these one of them was my faction leader who died a few turns ago, and so I think my new faction leader got appointed in replace of him, as well as I have another guy who replaced him. So I'm moving this army up to Marseille because this is essentially going to be the second army that I'm going to send to be the launching off point from Marseille, because I have to keep a fairly sizable force at Marseille. Yeah, and here's another blockade the port, because, you know, the Senate loves doing that. But yeah, as I was saying, that little minor army there is that since Marseille is just recently captured, it's going to take I have to keep a pretty sizable garrison there in order to suppress the populace and keep them from revolting and keep the population happy, essentially. Which is kind of weird when you think, like, okay, more troops, but it's basically just maintaining civil order, so you need more troops there. Also because the faction that I'm still at war with them, you know, and they're in there, and the Temple of Jupiter will help a lot because that increases public order by a lot. And that's one of the big buildings I always focus on getting as quickly as possible. Is the Temple of Jupiter does a lot to help, and of course the Colosseum, or not Colosseums. Yeah, I guess it would be Colosseums. I think that's what they're called. But the Colosseums also help a lot, and you can host, you know, gladiatorial games and all that stuff. But yeah, so this is the big army I have here, as well as this smaller army, which is going to kind of be the beginnings of the next invasion force. So we blockade the port. And I'm checking out this card's feature to see if it's going to be a problem. It's only a single ship, not a problem at all. Because one thing I will say is that in certain Total War games, some factions can be very hard to tell how many troops they have in an army just by looking at the banner because of the colors. Here we're wrapping up, coming to the end of this episode. I'd like to say thank you all for watching, and be sure to check back for more. And we're going to be phasing out here in just a moment, but one other thing to say, the last part of this episode is we do get trade rights with a faction here, which I'm gonna wait and see who it is, because I've forgotten. But again, thank you all for watching. It's Scythia. We get trade rights with Scythia, so that's pretty good, gonna help our economy. But thank you all for watching. Be sure to check back for more of Total War Through the Ages. We are, of course, playing through Rome Total War currently. But till next time.